Yo, what's up, good people? Welcome back to the Neural Dojo podcast. This is the spot where humans and AI meet to think out loud. I'm Kyrie, aka Kyrie No Irving, aka KT, the AI sensei. Around here, we don't rock with fear or hype. Now, what we do rock with is figuring out what this stuff actually means in real life. And today, we're talking about local AI. We're getting into why it's getting more serious, where it makes sense, where it doesn't, and how to decide what stays on your machine versus what still belongs in the cloud. So, yeah, man, let's get into it. Okay, so I need to start this one with a callback. Back in episode 32, when the US government pulled Anthropic's Fable 5, I gave y'all a bonus Dojo Drill. And that drill was simple. Start exploring local AI. I said I thought local models were where the consumer layer of AI was going, especially if privacy, reliability, or vendor lock-in matter to you. Well, on the 10th of August, 2026, Meta gave me a pretty good reason to bring that conversation back. Meta released Muse Glimmer, a 30 billion parameter open weight model built specifically for local agent workflows, meaning this thing was designed to run on the computer sitting in front of you. And no, this isn't going to be a I told you so episode. The bigger point is that local AI is starting to become a real option for work that most of us automatically send to the cloud. I mean, think about how normal that has become. Need a document summarized? Upload it. Notes organized? Upload them. Code checked, files analyzed, information cleaned up? Send it to somebody else's servers. We've basically been trained to think AI lives somewhere else. But what happens when more of that intelligence can live on your laptop, your desktop, or hardware your business actually controls? That's the question for this episode. Not, is local AI better than ChatGPT? That's too simple. The real question is, where should your AI work actually happen? So, quick rundown on what had happened. All right, so boom. On the 10th of August, 2026, Meta released Muse Glimmer. Again, it's a 30 billion parameter model with open weights under an Apache 2.0 license, and Meta says is optimized for always on local agent workflows. We're talking local agents, function calling, coding, tool use, document understanding, and multi-step work that doesn't require every request to hit a cloud model. Meta also used quantization to compress the model so it can fit inside roughly a 24 to 32 gigabyte memory envelope, depending on the setup. Now, before somebody hears runs locally and thinks the 6-year-old laptop in the kitchen is about to become Jarvis, slow down, pump your brakes, bro. Meta's own performance testing includes high-end Macs of the M4 Max and M5 Max Persuasion and an NVIDIA RTX 5090. So yes, this is consumer hardware. No, that doesn't mean every consumer computer is ready for it. A 5090 alone will set you back between $4,500 and $5,000 right now on Amazon. But that's not why I care about Glimmer. Glimmer matters because it's another sign that local AI is moving from the cool thing that technical people play with to something that can actually become part of a real workflow. And that brings me right back to episode 32. That episode was about dependency. If your favorite AI disappears, changes policy, gets restricted, changes price, loses a feature, or just goes down, does your workflow disappear with it? My point then was, one provider is not a strategy. Local AI came up as a backup path, another layer of resilience. Episode 40 is the next question. What happens when that backup path starts becoming good enough to be the primary path for some of the work? So let me make this really simple. Cloud AI means the heavy lifting happens somewhere else. You send a request out, somebody else's infrastructure does the work, and the answer comes back. These frontier models like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, most of the AI experiences people use every day, that's the basic pattern. Local AI flips that. The model runs on hardware you control, your laptop, your desktop, a workstation, maybe an on-prem server inside a business. Depending on the software and workflow, that can mean your prompts and documents never need to leave that machine. LM Studio is one example. I mentioned it back on episode 32. Once you've downloaded a model, it can run chats, document analysis, and even a local server completely offline. Then there's the third option, and this is where I think the real story is: hybrid. Some work happens locally, more difficult work gets escalated to the cloud. And I think a lot of people are going to hear local versus cloud and turn this into another team sport. But I'm not doing that. The goal isn't to pick a side. The goal is to route the work correctly. And if you use ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini every day, you already understand this idea. You shouldn't be reaching for the strongest, smartest model every single time you need AI to do something. If I'm asking AI to clean up a paragraph, summarize some notes, extract information, or handle some other simple task, I probably don't need the same level of reasoning I'd want for deep research, complex strategy, or a problem I really needed to think through. It's the same idea here. Match the amount of intelligence to the job. We're just adding one more question now. Does that intelligence even need to run in the cloud? So why would you even want this? First, privacy. If a task can be completed on your machine, the data may not need to leave your machine in the first place. That's a different conversation than asking what a cloud provider does with your data after you upload it. If the information never has to leave, you've removed that transmission from the workflow. Second, reliability. Cloud services go down, APIs change, companies change access, features disappear, policies change. We literally talked about this in episode 32. A local model doesn't magically solve every dependency problem, but it can give you another route when the cloud route isn't available. Third, cost. If you're doing the same narrow task over and over and over again, it might not make sense to pay for your biggest, smartest cloud model every single time. NVIDIA researchers have been making this exact argument around agentic AI. Smaller models can handle a lot of repetitive, specialized work more efficiently, while larger models stay available for the harder stuff. And fourth, control. When the model is infrastructure you control, you can have more say over the version, configuration, tools, data access, and when it changes. Now, that's a very different relationship from just logging into an app. But, and this is a big but, local doesn't automatically mean better. A smaller local model can just be worse at the job. That's it. We don't have to make that complicated. If the answer quality falls apart, your privacy win doesn't suddenly make the bad answer useful. Local also isn't automatically free. You paid for the hardware. GPUs cost money. I know you remember the price tag on those 5090s, right? But it's deeper than that. Power costs money. Setup takes time. Maintenance takes time. Somebody still has to know what they're doing. Local doesn't automatically mean secure either. If the machine itself is compromised, keeping the model on the machine doesn't magically protect the data sitting on that same machine, and local models aren't automatically current. If you need to know what happened this morning, your downloaded model needs some way to reach current information. Otherwise, it's working with whatever knowledge and data you've given it. And then there's capability. Some tasks really do need the bigger brain. Long context, hard reasoning, complicated research, specialized tools, stuff the local model just can't do reliably. Cool. Send that work somewhere stronger. Look, this is where I think people mess this conversation up. We don't need a local AI purity test. We need right-size intelligence. Here's the rule I want you to remember from this episode. Don't send a task to the biggest brain you can access. Send it to the smallest brain that can reliably do the job. Reliably is doing a lot of work in that sentence, because cheap and private doesn't matter if the result is wrong half the time. So think about your work in 3 lanes. Lane 1 is local, narrow, repeatable, sensitive, high volume, useful offline. Maybe that's classifying documents, summarizing internal notes, extracting fields, formatting information, searching local knowledge, basic coding help, or other predictable work. Lane 2 is cloud. You need stronger reasoning, fresh information, massive context, a specialized capability, or your local model tried the task and just isn't good enough. Fine, use the cloud. Lane 3 is hybrid, and this one is probably the most interesting. Run the routine work locally. Escalate only when the local model hits something it can't handle well. Microsoft already documents local to cloud fallback with Foundry Local. Apple does a version of the same thing using on-device models and stronger server-side models when more reasoning or context is needed. That tells me something. Local AI isn't just becoming another product category, it's becoming another layer in how we design the workflow. All right, let's make this useful. Dojo drill number 1, run the data exit test. Take the information you're regularly putting into AI and sort it into 3 buckets. Find to send out, prefer to keep local, should stay local. Don't overthink it. Customer data, internal documents, financial information, private research, whatever applies to you. Then look at those second and third buckets. Those are the first workflows worth testing locally. Not because local AI is trendy, because you actually have a reason to keep that information closer to you. Dojo drill number 2, run the intelligence test. Pick 3 tasks you give AI all the time and ask one question. How smart does the AI actually need to be to do this reliably? Help me decide whether to acquire a company and pull the invoice number out of this PDF are not the same job. If the task is narrow, repetitive, and easy to verify, stop assuming it needs your most capable model. Test a smaller one. Dojo drill number 3, build your AI routing map. Take your 5 most common AI workflows and label each one local, cloud, or hybrid. Then write down why. Privacy, capability, cost, speed, freshness, reliability. That's it. Now you're not choosing AI based on which company's logo is on the app. You're literally designing the workflow based on what the work actually needs. And yeah, I'm bringing the bonus drill back from episode 32 because some of y'all heard me say explore local models, nodded, said that's interesting, and went right back to ChatGPT. I see you. So this time, don't just explore it. Pick one real repetitive workflow and actually test it locally. You can check out tools like Ollama or LM Studio to get started. Pick a model that fits your hardware and your use case. Run the exact same task through your normal cloud AI. Then compare them. Quality, speed, setup effort, hardware load, privacy, reliability, cost, and don't grade local on a curve just because you want it to win. If the cloud version crushes it and local isn't good enough, cool. That just means you learned something. If the local model handles the task just fine, now you've got another option. And if local handles most of it but occasionally needs help, congratulations, you may have just found your hybrid workflow. That's the experiment. So where do I land? I still think what I said in episode 32 holds up. Local AI is going to be a much bigger part of the consumer and business layer. But I don't think the future is everybody abandoning the cloud and running one giant model in the basement. That's just replacing one extreme with another. I think the future is orchestration. Some intelligence on the device, some in the cloud, different models for different jobs, routed based on privacy, cost, capability, speed, and risk. Microsoft is building for that. Apple is building for that. NVIDIA researchers are arguing for that. And Meta's August 10th release pushes another capable model directly into that conversation. So stop asking, what's the best AI? That question is getting less useful. Ask, what does this task actually need? Does the data need to leave? How much intelligence does the job require? Does it need current information? What happens if the cloud service disappears? And what is my escalation path when the smaller model can't get it done? That's AI strategy. Not collecting tools, not chasing benchmarks, not downloading a model just so you can say you did it. The right intelligence in the right place for the right job. And if you've been treating every AI task like it needs to leave your computer and go straight to the biggest model you can access, this is probably a good time to rethink that. All right, that's it for this one. If this gave you a different way to think about where AI fits in your workflow, send it to somebody who's still treating AI like it only means a chatbot in a browser. I appreciate you rocking with me inside the Neural Dojo. Until next time, stay curious, stay balanced, and keep training your mind. Peace.